And boy, Biffle's car has been loose every lap. For the lead, Mark Martin gets around Jimmy Johnson and made it look as if Jimmy had waved him by.
I maybe did. He may have, because that was pretty planned, looked to me like. Pretty well planned. But I think right now, if I were the rest of the field, the way Jimmy Johnson qualified and the way Jimmy Johnson's running and the way Jimmy Johnson kind of owns this joint, I'd be worried about that 48.
Yeah, Jimmy has led the last 10 races we've run here, and he's led the most laps in 6 of those 10. Biffle and Harvick have a look at the number 16 Ford up top here a couple laps ago.
Whoa, whoa, baby. That,
big pile up back straightaway.
Oh my gosh.
Looks like 10 cars in it.
There's Tony Stewart.
One Montoya, the 42.
There's so much carnage, I can't tell who all is in it.
Both the BK cars. There's Landon Castle.
There's
You
Scott
just saw
Speed
Travis
and,
Quapple, Scott Speed, the 79.
Smokes car.
Tony Stewart, who did not have a great qualifying run, restarted toward the back. Montoya's in it, and Gilliland in the 38. Now watch Tony Stewart side by side with Landon Castle behind McMurray.
Whoa, they make contact right there, and that's a no-no. Jeff Hammond just standing over there in that very spot saying, you know, you got to really watch turn 2. It's treacherous. By golly, he was right.
Reagan gets by. Regan Smith spinning. Montoya down into the wall with Gilliland. And now watch this next group coming in. Here's where it starts. Remember, Jeff said these banks are self-cleaning. Everything slides to the bottom. But somebody turned Michael McDowell, and there's another pile of cars in it.
We talked about it before the race. Things just happen so fast here at this 1 mile racetrack.
You're coming out of that corner, Mike, at 150 miles an hour. And right, even when the spotter's hollering at you, way back there where you see that 78 car get sideways, you just can't slow down. Actually, it was Scott Speed's car.
Add Stephen Light to the list. It's a big funnel, and everything just all tries to cram into one spot when a car gets sideways. Like this. Wow. One Montoya Chevrolet, or what's left of it, heads toward the garage. We are under caution for a grinding crash at Dover on lap 9.
The FedEx 400 Benefiting Autism Speaks is sponsored by FedEx. Solutions that matter by Sprint. Avoid a data dilemma with truly unlimited data. Go to sprint.com/speak. And by Ford, proud sponsor of NASCAR.
9 laps complete. Red flag as Tony Stewart walks away from his car after an 11-car pileup initiated. Landon Castle came down the track a little bit in turn 2. Tony Stewart went up the track, and they make contact.
Yeah, plenty of room right here. Everything looks fine. You see Landon maybe comes down a little bit, and Tony's pushing up. You can see Tony's got the wheels turned hard, pretty hard left, but he makes contact with the left rear of the 83 car, and it's on from there.
Regan Smith can't slow down. His momentum carries him into Tony, and now the track is blocked. Nowhere to go.
And you see these guys, you see the tires smoking, and you see them trying to slow down, but you can't stop a race car on a dime when you're going 150 miles an hour.
Watch the 79,
Bam.
Scott Speed, yellow number on the roof. He piles into Castle, and he gets tagged by Stephen Light and Joe Nemechek. 13 cars in all are involved, including this one, Casey Mears.
2, spin on the middle of 2, keep going on the top, outside of it, outside, go to the middle.
All right, here's Matt.
And Mike, Landon Castle's had an opportunity to look at 3 different versions of the incident. What took place from your perspective, Landon?
Well, I mean, I was real loose off, anyways, and I actually didn't even feel him touch me. I don't know if he did. You know, Tony's one of the most patient drivers, in especially in this part of the race. So, you know, it's I was just gotten passed by the one, and I was trying to dime in the corner a little bit more, and you know, he was just barely there. If he got me, if he even touched me, or if he didn't, you know, when there's a car there, it gets you real loose. So, and I was already loose. But Tony's a super patient driver. He's one of the best. So. You know, it's just too bad that it tore up that many race cars. I really hate it for my guys and all the other teams out here that got a long month of June ahead of us. So, but we'll just keep working hard, and we had a great run last week in Charlotte with the Burger King Toyota. So we'll keep working towards Pocono and Michigan.
A lot of work to get this race car back onto the racetrack. Let's go across the garage area for more with Jeff Hammond.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. You know, we talked about this at the very beginning of the show, folks. That this could be Calamity Corner. I was standing here watching what was going on with Tony and Landon Castles, and Tony had been running a high groove a couple of laps before, and he decided to kind of follow. I guess his air pressure had come up. He'd gotten to the bottom of the racetrack. He passed the 34 car, and just as he gained on Landon Castles, it was like he all but got sideways off this part of the corner. Watching it, Tony was so close, along with Regan Smith. If either one of those cars could have just gotten off the other, it probably would have been a different result. But we talked about it. This is a self-cleaning racetrack. When one person makes a mistake, they all go up, they all come back down. But here on this back straightaway we call the canyon, all of a sudden the canyon was blocked and nowhere to go. And you can see that's the reason why we have a red flag condition, guys. This is one of the byproducts of the Monster Mile.
I actually think, looking at that if 78 car hadn't gotten into the back of Tony Stewart, I don't think we would have had this big of a problem. But that really is what created the bigger mess.
13 cars have at least some damage from this accident. And one reason, as Jeff pointed out, it's Calamity Corner because the following cars are accelerating hard toward the exit and outside of the corner. They can't just dive to the bottom to miss somebody in trouble.
And you can't see all that well right there, Mike. I mean, that literally, you're up in the banking, 24 degrees, and you're coming around that turn into that canyon, and you just have a hard time seeing ahead.
Tony Stewart has been checked and released at the care center. His car is being released to the garage area.
I'm sure part of Tony Stewart's frustration will be the fact of where they qualified. Back in the 29th position, they tested for 3 hours on Friday, and they never could really find speed in his 14 car.
Matt is with the driver of the third car involved.
Absolutely, and catching up with Regan Smith. What took place from your vantage point? You were right in the middle of all of this, Regan.
Yeah, I got into the back of the 14 and started the whole thing. I mean, I'll take full blame for that. Somehow they got checked up in front of me, and I just didn't have time to get woed up with it. So, you know, I hate that there's so many wrecked race cars here. It's not fun for anybody, especially my guys on the Furniture Row, CSX Play It Safe Chevy. We'll work hard to get it back out and get as many points as we can. It's been a tough year, and certainly this doesn't help things out. But, you know, these guys will bust their butts, and we'll get every spot that we can here.
Now, Mike, the boys from Colorado behind me, they're not working the race car because, as you mentioned, we're under red flag conditions. They're checking out the damage, and what they've got, all the teams have as part of their crash carts, different sections of the race car already put together, the front fascia, the hood, the fender, so that way they can take a Sawzall and cut as much of the damage from the firewall forward off, slide this in, weld some pieces in place, use some of the big bare bond duct tape pieces to get the nose section back in place to save as much time back here in the garage area so they don't lose as many laps on the racetrack.
Thanks, Matt. I don't put any of the blame for that on Regan Smith. Where he was, Darrell, what could he have done to keep from getting into Tony Stewart after Tony lost all his momentum?
Well, I think if you look at a replay, you'll see that Tony is into the 83, and 83's getting loose. But what really made the wreck worse was when the 78 car rammed into the back of the 14. Watch the 78. How he's got all that distance. He's got all this distance in here, and he should be able to see. I think he thinks that's casual contact. I think he figures that 83 car is going to get straightened up. He sticks his nose in here, though, and then there's nowhere for anybody to go. If he hadn't got into the back of Tony, I don't think we would have had this kind of wreck.
Understand, he's still accelerating.
Yeah,
they're all checked up ahead of him.
I think he saw the 14 get into Landon, and I think he thought, well, that's casual, and he'll catch it, we'll go on. And he was going to try to make a pass when he really should have been checking up.
Well, that one driver that snuck through there, unlike any of these others, David streaming that 30 as well as David Reagan in the 34.
That was some really nifty driving by both those guys, especially Strimmy. Darrell, when you're down in turn 1 and 2, you can't see what's developing up ahead of you, and that's the situation Strimmy found himself in. When he popped up off turn 2, it looked like the whole world ended to him, I bet, but he was able to work his way through there. I love the drive those guys did.
And that's a driver that's trying hard to claw his way into the top 35 in owner points, so that could help a bunch.
It made a big difference there.
9 laps complete under the red flag as Juan Pablo Montoya had this ride back to the garage. Miles the Monster on lap 9 claimed 13 victims, the biggest wreck of the Sprint Cup season so far. We're under the red flag. Steve Burns.
With Tony Stewart, who has just exited the infield care center. And Tony, Regan Smith's already said that he got into the back of you, but what actually started it?
Just the 83 was trying to get back down to the bottom, and just we were both in the wrong place at the wrong time. So it wasn't Regan's fault. I mean, he was right behind us, and he didn't have anywhere to go either. So just a real good deal at the beginning of a race like this.
Tony, can your car be repaired?
I don't know. It's pretty damn tore up, so we'll see. I don't know. It's just a crappy weekend, and you get back there with some of them guys, and you just got to be more patient. But you know, as far back as we started, I didn't really have the luxury to be as patient as I would like to have been. But just was under a guy and came down.
Thank you, Tony.
The defending Sprint Cup champ started 29th. He's right now listed in the garage 37th of the 43 starters. Carnage everywhere. At Talladega, we had 2 9-car pileups, for those of you who've been bemoaning the lack of caution flags this year. And at Bristol early on, lap 24, we had a 7-car jam session. But this 13-car pileup is Scott Speed. Takes the ride back in on a golf cart. This is the biggest of the year so far. Not the way we wanted to start.
Oh, you think about it, it was just shy of a third of the field that was involved in that wreck.
And you know, we can all we can do from up here is analyze what happened. You know, Tony got into the 83 car, the 78 got in the back of Tony, and then the wreck was on. And you hear these guys. I don't, you know, Tony's not mad at Landon Castle, or he's not mad at Regan Smith. You know, we just got jammed up over there and we had a wreck.
So let's have a look at today's Ford F-150 EcoBoost track facts. For Dover, Roush Fenway has the most Dover wins at this track with 16 across NASCAR's 3 National Series. Ford has held the points lead for 11 of 12 weeks this season. And the last Ford victory here was Matt Kenseth, who won the spring race of 2011. There's Kenseth's number 17, sitting in 3rd place right now. Under the red flag, no work can be done on the cars, no service to the cars parked out on the track away from the area that the sweepers are working. At the exit of turn number 2 and in the garage, they can look at the damage, but they really can't work on it until the red flag is lifted and we go back under the yellow.
Hey, David Reagan, it's DW. You got a copy, buddy?
Yeah, 10-4. I got you guys.
Have you got your nerves back over there? You made a nice drive through that wreck.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do it again or not, DW. The racing here, you really can't see around the corners as well as you'd like to sometimes. And I believe the 83 get sideways, and our spotter did a nice job roaming up on top of the grandstands. And he's telling you to go low, but then they're wrecking on the bottom side. So it was just a perfect case scenario. I was able to slide our 8-hour alert through and not get any damage. So we were fortunate to get through that one.
What do you do in a situation like that? I mean, I don't see any tire smoke or anything. It looks like did you keep accelerating? Do you back off? How do you get through that mess?
I think you can relate to this. When you start thinking about what to do, then you don't make good decisions. So you just kind of do what comes natural, and that's try to dodge the bullet. So I think, you stay in the gas, you try to turn left, turn right, and just say a short prayer to get through there. So we were fortunate to get through there. If we would have been 10 car lengths in front or 10 car lengths behind, we probably would have got in the wreck. But we were able to see some clear blue skies at the end of it, and go on to live another day.
Mighty fine job there, young man. Hope you don't have any more incidents like that the rest of the day.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I think we got a good car today, and can't wait to get back going here.
3-car entry here for Front Row Motorsports. Well, here's what's fresh off the wire. We are 30 minutes into this race, but we've completed only 9 laps because of this. Landon Castle sideways up top, Regan Smith on the bottom, and the funnel collects a total of 13 cars, the biggest pileup of this Sprint Cup season. And it's the first red flag we've had in the last 8 races. 13 cars in all have damage. Right now 7 of them have been hauled to the garage area. The rest are still on track or on pit road, and that's what's fresh off the wire, served to you by KFC. Come in and taste why fresh is better.
I mean, Mike, when you look at that back straightaway, I mean, you just look down that straightaway and the thing's all tilted up 9 degrees, and it's self-cleaning. We say it all the time. Jeff, what do you say?
DW, I heard Mike talking about, the guys can't work on the cars during the red flag condition. But if you notice here with the 14 team of Tony Stewart, they're making a plan. They're getting ready to repair this race car. You see Tony even standing there. He's going to put his helmet back inside the car. I believe they're going to be able to make pretty quick repairs on this 14 car. But they got A-frames laid out. They've got porta powers. They've got welders. All the guys are talking about what they can do. Now they can go to work since they've cranked the cars out on the racetrack. But they've got a plan, just like a pit crew. They'll get repairs done on this car really quick. I think you'll see the 14 back out on the racetrack in just a short amount of time.
Yeah, really, Larry, the red